Hello, and welcome to the THC Show. Into our fifth year now in the THC Show, the show where we talk about truth, hope, and change. And we hope that by telling the truth, we could have some hope that there will be proper change down the road. We certainly need some of that. On the show today, we'll have 8 out of 10 Glenn join us for the 420 session, during which time I'm going to tell you all a little story that is really a cautionary tale. And we do like to give people some warnings on this show about some of the pitfalls of life. And we're going to do that coming up at the 420 session. Also, we'll be visiting with the Healing Wave CSP RV and talking a little bit about the CSP. What I want to talk about off the top today is the cannabis in Canada. It's a mess. Depending on which side of it all that you're on, if you're in the business of cannabis and you decided to give Trudeau a chance, it's a mess. If you're on Trudeau's side of the thing, well, I think he's got it just the way he wants it, where they continue to rake in huge amounts of money without actually bringing people into court, and the rest of the business suffers. Canada, legalized weed, or so they like to say, and some people see it that way. We here at Pot TV do not, and I'm able to speak for my colleagues at Pot TV and cannabis culture, that this is not the legalization that we were seeking and that we deserve to get. This is a hostile attempted takeover of the cannabis industry by the Trudeau cartel and a protection racket being run by taxpayers to deal with their monopoly, which they are trying to enforce. Which, by the way, they don't want to be successful because it's the enforcement of the monopoly that puts money in many of the pockets of the friends of the Trudeau cartel, and they like it just fine that way. So the fact that many in the industry, most in the industry that were providing cannabis, either as sellers or growers, are still considered criminals in Canada, and the whole apparatus of prohibition to shut those people down is still alive and well. And so those people that were fearing legalization because their livelihood depends on it really so far have nothing to fear. They still get to be prohibitionists and make a lot of money off of the poor souls that just can't or won't join the cartel. It's really abysmal. And those that did join the cartel, the businesses that have set up, have all lost a lot of money. Or at least their shareholders have, if they're public. Canopy, for example, yet to ever show a profit in any quarter since they went public in 2014, so 9 years of people who bought into their legalization dream have done nothing but lose their money. Trudeau, on the other hand, taking his tax money off of every gram that's sold in Canada, he gets his money, he's happy as can be, all his prohibitionist friends are happy, and the government is just thinking this is great. But we're certainly not thinking it's great at all. Canopy, the first big one on the block really, originally Tweed, they're now selling Hershey back their facility for $53 million that they bought back a while ago. 800 people will be laid off by that. They say that, they're downstreaming, they're just lightening costs. What they're really doing is desperately trying to survive and at some point turn a profit. In fact, the industry at this point, is it just Canopy, has sold $155 million worth of their assets just to try to keep the books up from looking too bad, maybe to keep themselves, publicly traded on the main exchange instead of on the penny stocks. It's really, really bad. Most of the businesses are doing poorly, struggling to keep up with the fees and the different things that they have to do to try to comply with government regulations. It's very expensive to do that, and the profit margins are very slim. And they're getting desperate, and you can see that they're getting desperate because they're like rats on a sinking ship. And by rats, I mean they are ratting on each other. There's 706 complaints filed by licensed producers against other licensed producers trying to alert the government as to some of the less than legal things that they might be doing. Snitches get stitches, but I guess not in the legal cannabis industry. Hard to say if there's any repercussions there or not, but it's just this is not us. This is not our industry that is now involved with supplying Canadians with cannabis, as we had been, right up until so-called legalization, the $7 to $9 billion industry that was involved just in British Columbia here alone. This is not who is now providing cannabis to Canadians. It is a government cartel of high-end businesses and corporations that are tasked with growing cannabis and producing it for Canadians. And, the government doesn't care if they turn a profit for their shareholders, but I'm sure their shareholders really care a lot about that. 706 people ratting on each other just this year alone. Last year it was only 182. So you can see that the level of desperation is increasing, and they're just trying to do whatever they can to turn a profit and stay viable. But that's not what legalization was designed to do here in Canada. So for those of you outside of Canada, when you look at us and think, wow, look at that, Canada, they got legal weed, Well, it's not quite that utopia that you might think it is, because weed is legal for people to go and buy it if you want to pay your fine up front. So you don't have to go to court and go through the whole arrest process. You can just walk into a government store and they will fleece you right there for penalties for having anything to do with pot. Because unlike all the other fruits and vegetables and herbs in Canada that you can walk into stores and purchase for, well, definitely under $10 a pound, you're looking at thousands of dollars a pound to buy your weed in any of the government stores. And it's less than that in the unregulated market, but it's still high because of all the apparatus of prohibition that's out there to try to harm these people, and they still have to protect themselves and have legal funds put aside and protect themselves by making enough money that they can absorb the hits from the prohibitionists. This is certainly not the legalization we called for at all. We wanted an end to the money being wasted, the tax dollars, our precious tax dollars. We wanted an end to that. That was one of our biggest things. The real biggest thing, though, for us in the legalization movement was to look after those that are least fortunate, the ones that can't afford prohibition pricing and that can't get access in any case and could be considered criminals and treated very badly if they try to look after their own needs that way. Those people are still in a lot of trouble. You can get a doctor, well, if you're lucky, you can get a doctor in Canada to give you his permission to go ahead and purchase cannabis, but that doesn't mean you can afford the cannabis that you're allowed to purchase. If you go to these licensed producers, to their websites, and you're a medical user and you're allowed to purchase from one of those producers because you have to pick one, then you're going to be paying the prices that every other Canadian is paying. There's no break. There's no, like, for sick people that are getting access to medicine in other ways in Canada. There's no government subsidies. There's no Medicare for cannabis. You have to pay these super high prices. And if you're looking for high-dose edibles, well, you're out of luck anyway. And high-dose edibles is really the form of cannabis that is most useful to people that are sick and not feeling well. So this legalization is completely thrown all of the sick people right under the bus. Trudeau said leading up to it that, they would be looked after. They wouldn't have to worry. Recreational cannabis being legal would mean that the medical users' needs were being met. And that certainly has not been the case. He has lied through his teeth about several aspects about prohibition. He said leading up to his election that the government legalization would put the underground marketplace out of business because the weed would be really cheap and really good, and nobody's going to want to go to some backdoor dealer or down the lane dealer when you can walk into a nice storefront and pay typical, he didn't say grocery prices for fruits and vegetables, but he did say that they would be low prices and that it would put the unregulated marketplace out of business. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. The prices being charged by the Trudeau cartel are much, much higher than what's going on in the unregulated market. You can buy cannabis for like $5 a gram at those stores, but you're buying the real low-end cannabis that they're trying to get rid of. If you want any of the better cannabis, that's going to be up around $15, $18 a gram. And now they're going to include more craft cannabis into the legalization scheme, and you can just bet that the craft cannabis is obviously going to be more expensive than their other cannabis because, grown by craft artists that, love cannabis and do a good job of growing it. Some of those people have been attracted into the legal side of things, and so when that cannabis becomes available, you can imagine it's going to be well over $20 a gram. $20 a gram is over $9,000 for 1 pound. Yeah, you heard that right. If you haven't ever done the math on it and you hadn't thought about it, $10 a gram is $4,480. So I guess I'm just under $9,000. So I guess I was wrong. $8,800 or $960. So you're $40 shy of the $9,000 mark on a $20 gram of weed. Isn't that insane? $9,000 for a pound? People don't pay $9 a pound for any of the other fruits and vegetables and herbs that are in our marketplace. So, why the government thinks it's okay to legalize this plant, but do it in a way that doesn't allow farmers to grow it without an expensive license and without being allowed to, by choice of a lottery system or however it is that they decide who gets to grow. But most farmers can't grow weed. Most farmers, aren't going to get a license to grow any weed. And if they do, they have to change everything. They have to go to a level 5 security and all the rest of that stuff. None of it necessary or justified in any way, shape, or form. Cannabis is not more dangerous than any of the other plants or fruits or vegetables that are out there. I shouldn't say plants, but even with plants. Most of your house plants are more dangerous than cannabis is by a long shot. But they don't say anything about that. You can have all of these poinsettias and other things growing in your home. Your children running around playing, little kids maybe grabbing a bud and having a bite off a flower or something like that. When that happens, those kids go to the poison control. The parents are calling the poison control board. They're taking their kids to hospital. Some of them die. Many of them get really ill. These plants are poisonous that you're allowed to have. Even roses have thorns on them. And you're allowed to grow those things in your garden. There's no government restriction whatsoever. You can have roses with thorns growing in your yard and your children out there playing right alongside of them. And yeah, sometimes they get into the rose bushes trying to get their ball back out or to catch the kitty cat or whatever it is, and they get all scratched up, and sometimes it might even be serious and they end up in hospital. No government regulations, no government warnings. They don't care. They don't care. That is not what they care about. They don't care about Canadians. They don't care about Canadian children. They don't care about people who are sick. What they care about is power and money. Period. That's it. They want to be in power and they want lots of money. That's it. So that's what you can trust your government for. You cannot trust your government to properly legalize weed. It didn't happen here. I don't know that it's happening anywhere. This model of fee to play and outrageous artificial high prices all over the place, that is the way that they want to do it. All these different jurisdictions want in on it. Plenty of tax dollars for the government. They can say that weed is legal, and they can still take the tax dollars that they get from things and use it against the people that would dare to defy the cartel. It is really, really quite a mess here in Canada. It's a mess for us in the legalization movement because they really knocked the stuffing out of our movement by doing what they did. Most people say, hey, it's legal. Most people in small towns that never had any real access to cannabis other than ditch weed for $40 an eighth, they think it's great that you can walk into a store and pay $40 an eighth for slightly better weed and you don't have to worry about getting arrested. It's not great. And for us here in Vancouver, we're here to tell you it's not great. There's still enforcement going on all over the place. We've got a special unit set up here in British Columbia thanks to legalization. More tax dollars being paid on this enforcement unit, the CSU. They named themselves a community safety unit because that's the complete opposite of what they are. They cause havoc in neighborhoods. They close down medical dispensaries, putting the medical patients into despair. They support the local gangs in the area that are supplying weed in the underground marketplace. This is not legalization, folks. This is not what we've been looking for, fighting for, and now we're trying to reassemble ourselves, trying to reinvent ourselves, trying to figure everything out so that we can get all those people in Canada back on board again, because we had most Canadians believing that we needed legalization, and unfortunately now we have many, if not most, Canadians believing that we've got legalization. So we need to inform those people that this ain't it. This is not what we were fighting for. Continuing to pay prohibition-type prices on weed supplied by big corporations with all these other restrictions around that is not what we were fighting for. If you go back and listen to the speeches that we were giving at 420 and Cannabis Day and the Global Marijuana March and the other protests that we've had, you would see that what we wanted was that farmers market, that free market approach that we had at 420 and Cannabis Day here in Vancouver. hundreds of vendors all displaying their wares for people to choose from, and the marketplace decides on which of the cannabis is good and which of the cannabis providers are not. And that's what should be going on here. Instead, it's not that at all. It ain't even close. The vast majority of those several hundred vendors that would come to a 420 and set up with all of their different types of cannabis that they had, they are still all illegal. And they're still all doing what they were doing, even though the threat is even greater now than it was before legalization. Can you imagine? They're there to help support the movement for legalization. We get what they call, the government calls legalization, and these people are even more illegal than they were before that. It is insane. And for these people to stop doing what they're doing, it takes more than being illegal. It takes more than being even more illegal than you were before legalization. If you're growing cannabis and selling cannabis, the established market that you have there is still there. Those clients are still looking for your products because the government legalization does not supply their needs. So if you're a grower and that's the main substance of your income, or even a subsidy to your income, are you going to stop growing so that you can't pay your rent or feed your family because what you're doing is slightly more illegal than what it was before? Of course you're not. Illegal is illegal, basically. You don't think you're going to get caught, and most people don't, because they're smart. We've been growing cannabis illegally here in British Columbia for 100 years, and it's gotten really, really good. People are really sneaky. People have all kinds of ways of hiding what they're doing, and they're going to keep doing it. If you're selling cannabis, are you going to stop selling cannabis because now, the government says it's illegal? But you still got all these customers that don't want to use the government stores to pay the government prices for the shitty corporate weed? Of course you're not. So all the sellers and growers of cannabis are still selling and growing cannabis. And now they're slightly even more illegal than they ever were because there's many more penalties for doing things to do with cannabis. In fact, on last week's show, we read out a long list of the different fines that they can give you. I imagine this is a British Columbia thing, and probably the other provinces have their whole list of other offenses that they can get in on because that's money for them. There's the federal prohibition, of course, and you can pay federal fines and all the rest of it. But hey, these provinces and these cities, they want in on the money. So they come up with their own silly rules that they can enforce in their own territories, and they can collect fines on that. So they're all raking in a ton of money on every level of government because of legalization. But the people that are in the heart of the movement, that have been all along, are still criminals, are still in fear for their liberty and their possessions. And we don't have the legalization that we deserve. And of course, the worst is the medical patients. They're the ones who need it the most. I mean, all you got to do is look at the science. Go to PubMed, look up any article on cannabis and the different things that it's beneficial for, and you'll realize why so many... Oh, 419. And at this time, I'm pretty much done my little rant at the same time as it's 419, so you got a minute to roll them up. But absolutely, those medical patients, which are the most vulnerable, the most at risk, the least able to look after their own needs, to be able to navigate an unregulated marketplace, they're the ones that are still left out of legalization. And that is a travesty. That is a shame. That should not be happening. But like I said, our government here in Canada does not care about its people. It doesn't care about the poor people especially, and it doesn't care about the sick people either. All it wants is money and power, and those people don't provide much in the way of money and power other than to say, hey, look at us, we're doing things to help, and you should vote for us, when in reality, they're not doing things to help at all. They're doing things to help themselves and help their friends, and the sick and the poor be damned. 420 right now, right this instant, and that means Sir Wells.
Sir Wells. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right.
Sir.
I'm doing all right. What are you smoking today?
Blackberry Bubba Kush with OG Shatter.
Wow.
Yes.
Gotta love the new age of marijuana with all the different strain names.
Different flavors and stuff. Well, we always had different flavors.
Concentrate.
Stick, Blue Hawaiian, Colombian Gold, Jamaican Brick.
The concentrates have changed.
Yes, the concentrates are different, yes.
We have more and better
concentrates. Happy 420, everybody.
Happy 420. Yeah. So I have a cautionary tale to tell.
Oh, you have a tale? Yeah, somebody told me about that.
I have a story to tell you. Glenn does not know what happened.
Rick says CSP has the best cannabinoid product in Vancouver. Thanks, Brooks.
I think we do too. My joint will testify to that.
And mine too.
I got some pretty good strains of weed going on over here. So Sunday.
Tell your story.
So Sunday is Mom Day. Anybody who knows me knows that on Sunday I go get my mom.
Yeah.
She lives in White Rock. She's in a care home there. She's 90 years old. She suffers from dementia. And I take her out for lunch. I buy her flowers and take her out for lunch every Sunday. This particular Sunday, 2 days ago, day before yesterday, not really any different to start with, although I went to the wrong floor on her in her care home. Somehow I pushed 3 instead of 5, and I didn't realize it till I got to her room, and her picture wasn't on the door, and then the number was not 5 something, it was 3 something, and I went, oh my goodness, how did I do that? So it started out a little weird.
Good cannabis from the
But,
CSP.
yeah, I guess. I've been going to that building for a couple of years. I've never gone to the wrong floor.
Totally, yeah.
Never gone to the wrong floor.
Brooks is not
But
right.
that's not what the story's about. Mom was at her usual place on the 5th floor, sitting at the dining room table, sound asleep, and that's all normal. She woke up pretty quick and got onto her walker, and I pushed her out to the car, and she pretty easily got into the car. And I had to go visit a friend of mine. He had a couple of fun guys there that I was supposed to pick up, and so I went and did that, if you know what I mean. And so I got these fun guys in the back of the car there, and Mom's there, and my friend lived close to White Rock. He's right on like 1 Avenue pretty much, by the border. So when we were leaving his place, we could see the long lineups of cars going to and coming from, Canada, or the States and Canada.
Yeah.
And I commented on that to Mom, and she said, wow, those poor people have to sit there in their cars. They're hardly moving,
Mm-hmm.
So we go up and around, and now we're back on the Canadian side, and I see the duty-free store on the other side of the street. So
Yeah.
I take the next turn, and I go over there. They had a cafe. It said cafe here. So I pull into the parking lot, and Mom stays in the car, and I go in to see about getting her a soup. Because she lost her teeth 2 weeks ago, so soup's about all she can have, and that's what I'm looking for now.
Yeah.
We've been to every restaurant in White Rock over the last few years of doing this, so, a new place to go is always something we're looking for.
Yep.
So I pull in there, I get out. They're sold out of the soup.
Oh.
So I come back to the car, and now
sold out of
it's
soup.
sold out of soup. So
Okay.
there's no soup, and there's nothing else there that I felt Mom could have. So I go back to the car, and we try to leave the parking lot. Can't leave the parking lot.
Oh.
Once you pull into the duty-free parking lot,
Yeah.
you are going to go through the U.S. Customs to get back to Canada.
Uh-oh.
There's no sign.
Uh-oh.
There should be somebody stationed at the flipping entrance there, letting people know this.
Yeah.
So we got in the huge lineup to go to the U.S. border and try to get turned around back into Canada.
You can't.
Well, they told it. I went in and said, what's going on? And they said, well, yeah, you're going to have to go do that. And don't worry, they've made U.S. border people have made special provision for this to happen. There's already been 3 other people today, they said, that did that and wanted to go back but couldn't.
Yeah.
And so when you get there, just show them your driver's license and they'll turn you around. That could not be any farther from the truth. And the people at the border,
I watched that show. They don't do that. No.
When I told them that at the border, they said, I don't know why they would tell you that. You're going to be searched and processed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to be searched. Me, my mom, and my 2 fun guys in the back are going to be searched and processed.
Plus the weed.
So, one of the first questions I was asked, I gave him my spiel right away. I said, oh, sir, you wouldn't believe what's going on here. My goodness, we've just spent hours in this lineup. And, it's my mom. She's got dementia. She won't be able to answer any questions. She's got no ID on her. We weren't intending on coming down here at all.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can just turn around. He says, well, got any marijuana in the vehicle?
Well, yeah, we're trying to come here.
Yes, sir, I do.
Legal in Canada.
Yes, sir, I do. So, let me see it. So I pulled out my side bag. It was just underneath my coat right beside me, and I pulled out my bag of marijuana, which was much, much smaller than this one.
Yeah.
It had about 1/8 of weed in it. That was it. So I showed him that, and he said, well, you just leave that right there, and you go over to the secondary inspection area, and, they'll tell you what to do.
So you did.
Well, no choice in any of there's no choice. The choice I had in the duty free would have been to drive my car out that exit, which wasn't an exit, past the do not enter signs, over that that those
Oh, so
spikes
you can't do
that,
that. Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
go down when you drive
Take
this
the tires
way
out.
and blow your tires out going the other way. I maybe
Yeah.
could have taken a run for it, you know, and, you know, seen if I could make it with 4 flat tires and all, but nope, there really was no choices involved anymore at this point. This is just going to be whatever it's going to be. I did put a towel over my fungi in the back when I left the duty-free parking lot, so they
Yeah.
were semi out of sight. And then I pull into the secondary inspection area. These very stern, not very happy-looking people came, and right away I'm trying to be nice and tell them, look, man, this is just a mistake.
Yeah.
I was not going to the States. My mom has got dementia. You can't even talk to her. You know, they said, look, just leave your keys on the dash.
Yeah.
Get your mom out of the car.
There.
Go into the processing building, and that's what you're doing. I said, well, mom's mobility is really horrible. It's hard to get her out of the car. She has a walker in the back, but that's not very, you know, easily used. They said, that's fine. We'll get her a wheelchair. And they brought out a wheelchair, and I put mom in a wheelchair, and I walked away from my car and into the building there. Mom and I were in that building for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
She had no ID. The only thing she had in her walker was a card that we got her back on one of her birthdays.
Yeah.
You know, the born in 1933 card that has like several pages, and it talks about what was going on when you were born in in her case, 1933. And it had her name written in it.
Oh, good.
But that was it.
That was it.
She didn't have her name in her Bible.
No.
She didn't have her name on anything else. So they're not all that interested in her anyway, really.
Mm-hmm.
They never did try to ask her a question, although there was one time when we were not together.
Yeah.
Because they fingerprinted me.
Yeah.
They took my DNA.
Yeah.
They took me into a room and did he said, your mom can't go in there. This is a gender-specific search. Yes,
They
they,
took your
yes,
DNA?
they made me swab my mouth.
Oh, wow.
And I had to leave Mom outside the room, and I said, Mom, I'll be back shortly there. And I mean, she didn't know where she was. She didn't know what was going on.
She'd have your house.
They might have tried to talk to her, when I was in the room there. I have no idea. But, all she would have got is, I don't know. I mean, she might know her name.
Yeah.
She wouldn't even 2 minutes later have remembered who I was or that I was with her or anything.
Yeah.
But within I had to empty my pockets and go, put your hands against the wall and be like a criminal and do the whole search thing there. And then they let me put my stuff back in my pockets and go back out and get Mom and go back and sit in the waiting room. And eventually the fellow we've been dealing with, there's a long row of about 20 different border agents, each at a computer with a booth there, processing people.
Yeah.
And one of them was my guy, that I'd been dealing with, and I told him the story right off the bat when I got up there.
Guy?
I know, he may have been, They're all very stern looking.
So,
None of them are going to be very friendly.
They've heard it all.
And they're not to be amused.
Yeah.
They don't, so, there was no laughing or joking about anything. He was pretty serious. He said, and they told me they were going to bring the dogs into the car and all the rest of it. So, after 2.5 hours in that building, was in the lineup. The car lineup would have been like 3 or 4 hours long.
Yeah.
I cheated.
Yeah.
When I left the duty free, I had a choice. I could get into the regular lineup or I could go into the Nexus line. So I took the Nexus line. I don't know. I'm ignorant. I get there and plead stupidity. What can I do? I don't know. I'm not trying to go to the States.
Yeah.
So I pull into the Nexus line. I go past all these cars. I get down fairly close. I mean, you can see the border thing. And then one of the pylons that are bolted to the pavement had been broken down, and the car in front of me hopped out of the Nexus line into the regular line.
So you did that.
The regular line had for some reason, there was a red light that stopped them and then let like 60 cars go at a time or something. Yeah. So I could go right in. So I went in there, and then I see the sign on I think it says, returning to Canada far left. Yeah. So I got to get in the far left, so I go over there. Well, there's a line up there. And I kind of nose my nose in front of this red Corvette from California. Yeah. And the guy's honking at me and fingering. We're not moving, right? It's not like we're driving and I'm cutting him off or anything.
No, you just have to
let him, I had my signal on, I put it in park. I got out. I went over and said, "Hey, buddy, look, I'm not even trying to go to the States.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be in this lineup. I got my mother here on the verge of a medical emergency, and I now see the sign just as we came over the hill that says I have to be in the left lane." He goes, "Okay, all good, you know."
Yeah. Jeez.
When you get up to that border station there, you know, one of the several that are there, there's about 50 feet of all this equipment before you get to the border booth. Like big cameras, and a sign that says "Show your ID to the camera," and cameras coming at you from every angle, and all these other funny things like listening to I don't know what they are, but oh my god! So then I get up there and I tell the guy the story, and he says, "Got any marijuana?" And then, you know, from there I'm here. He says, and I was on the phone to my lawyer, to my brother, to my son who was up in the Okanagan, and to all those people that are impacted by the fires that are going on from Maui to the Okanagan to Yellowknife and all the other places. This is an incredibly horrible time we're having right now on the planet. You know, my heartfelt sympathies go out, and you know, I really hope that we all manage to survive as best we can through all of this.
The Project Z had a fire 2 kilometers away from it. So
I see.
There not be any. I've been trying to message them for the last 2 days and have no response.
Right, of course. So I didn't realize that would be impacted too.
Yes, well, being that they're up in Salmon Arm in that area, so yeah.
Salmon Arm's a little farther up north.
Yeah, but I don't know where they are, where their building is. Yes, but he said last message was the fire is 2 kilometers away.
Wow.
And there was no.
And there's lots of fires.
There was no way to get back to the building to get the stuff out because the fire was so close.
Of course.
So,
probably
2.5 hours in the building.
2.5 hours later, and all of this stuff that went on in there. Mom is still awake, by the way. Mom doesn't stay awake for more than an hour and a half when I pick her up and take her out for lunch.
Yeah.
Within about an hour and a half later, she is now going to go to sleep.
Yeah.
She's going to be very difficult to wake up. She's barely going to be able to stand up out of the car and sit her butt right down on her walker there. And I take her to her room where we just put her into bed. It's not easy to do. She's heavy. Yeah. But my son and I, you know, we've gotten pretty good at being very gentle with her, and that's the normal routine. Mom is still awake, hours and hours into this ordeal. And now I get to leave. I go to my car, and it looks like it's untouched. I glance in the back, and the towel is still there where it was, and everything's still there. It looks like nothing's been gone through. I can't believe it. I'm like, oh my goodness. So he opens the locked gate and lets us drive through, gives me a piece of paper like this and says, "Give this to the Canadian Border Guard." And now we go and get in that long lineup to get to the Canadian Border Guard.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
Another hour or so in the lineup where I still think I'm fucked.
Yeah.
You know, like,
because I gotta go
sorry, Annie Barbie, but you can understand at this particular time, you know, I mean, whatever is, and whatever will be, and there's only 2 types of things in life. Those you can change, and those you can't. And of the 2 things you can change, there's only 2 types. Those worth the effort, those not worth the effort. I don't panic. My heart's not thumping. But I do think that I'm probably not going to be at home tonight, you know. But I got out of the main lion's den and into the secondary, you know, maybe kitty cat den. I don't know, Canada Customs. Yeah. And once I got up there, it was all good. Mom was still awake. I handed her the paper and I quickly told her the story. And I said, and I'm amazed my mom is still awake right now. Like, she should be there looking like she's passed right out or dead. And I said, I can imagine that would be a harder job, you know, getting us through with that. And she agreed. Her and I had a chuckle. She was nice. And within just a couple of minutes, I'm on my way. What?
They can hear me, but they can't see me. Well, you needed to tell a story. Thanks, Douglas. I forgot to turn the camera. I was more interested in the story.
I thought you did. I saw you up there fooling around.
No. Oh, wow.
Hi, I saw you do what I thought turned it. Wow.
Couple stoners.
Oh, yeah. Like, I don't know if I was naive. My brother says, you know, you should have known that duty free was like that type of a place. I said, no, Sam, I didn't. I haven't been to the States in over 40 years myself. Yeah. And even what the duty free thing was, I'm still not really clear on it. You can go there, I think, and purchase these things, but you don't get to take them. You then go on your trip to the States, and when you come back, you get them?
No,
and then you don't pay
think
tax
you go
on
to the
them?
States first, and then you come back, and the amount of time that you've been in the States allows you to buy certain things duty-free. So you can buy alcohol, and that when you get to the Canadian border, not have to pay the duty on it. So yes, that's what a duty is. Like,
but all those cars in the lineup for the States.
If I order something from the States and it's coming
No,
across the
if
border,
they're on the other side, coming back from the States, they're on the other side. They can, like I did. You know, that's the red light. That's what it is.
I guess on your
there's
way
a couple
back
of
out,
those.
you hit the duty
Well, there's a
free.
couple of those where they stop, and that's one. But no, that store is not accessible to people coming back from the States like that. So I don't really understand how all that works.
Wow, that's what your duty is anyway. So if you buy something in the States and you cross over into Canada, there's a duty.
Right.
It's usually the price difference of what it is in the States to what it's worth in Canada.
I see.
Right? So when you buy at the duty-free store, if you've been there for 24 hours, you get a certain amount of money. If you've been there for a week, you get a lot more amount of money, so you can buy it.
This thing is situated for people
so you can
on
buy
their way
American
in.
stuff at that duty-free store at the American price, I guess, and not have to pay the difference when you cross over to the border.
Right. So you must take it with you. Whoever told me that you pick it up on the way back out, I guess that can't be true based on where its position is. It's positioned for people that are in the lineup going down to the States.
Yeah.
And the place is full of perfume. It just reeks of perfume.
Because I remember.
And then alcohol on the other end. It reeks of perfume. You think you're in a cheap bar. Even though I'm sure all that perfume is very expensive. But, mixing with the alcohol, there's just huge sections of alcohol, huge sections of perfume, a few items of clothing and other things. There might be cigarettes there, I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know if I was naive or dumb, but, if you don't understand this thing, don't drive into the parking lot of a duty-free place unless you're planning on going down to where the border is.
They don't have any soup there.
Sometimes they have soup, which would have been good because Mom would have had some soup.
At least, yeah.
I did stop in White Rock before getting into this mess and got our regular smoothie.
Okay.
I buy Mom a smoothie there.
Yeah.
And she consumed most of that smoothie during the whole ordeal.
Oh, that's good.
But she had no lunch.
Wow.
She never went to the bathroom.
Wow.
She stayed awake through it all. She asked me.
Like 5 hours
She asked
afterwards?
me numerous times. Like when we were in that lineup waiting to get the first border, she'd say, "What do they mean secondary inspection?" I said, "Well, that's if they want to take a closer look, Mom." And we repeated that
several times.
many times. Yeah. So there was still all that going on there. And she asked a number of times when we were sitting there in the station, where are we? Mm-hmm. I said, well, we're at the U.S. border, Mom, and we might be in trouble. I did. I actually apologized to her at one point because I felt that at any point they were going to come and take me away from her, and I wouldn't be able to. Not that she would remember me apologizing to her, but still, I felt, Mom, I'm so sorry I managed to somehow get us into this. But, so I got back to Canada. I really felt like getting out and kissing the ground there. I couldn't believe it. I was doing hoops in my mind, going, woohoo!
Yeah. I get to do a show on Tuesday.
Wow, my mom is going to be okay. And I had called the care home and told them what was going on and everything, of course. And I didn't know if they needed to arrange a vehicle to come and pick her up or what. My brother that would do that, he was in Cultus Lake with his family, and my goodness.
Oh, wow.
So. But he was good on the phone anyway, and Jack was good. I talked to my lawyer, and I said, Jack, I think I could be in big trouble here. And he says, just don't say anything. If they confront you with that, just don't. I said, I'm just supposed to stand there like stupid looking, like mute?
Yeah.
And he says, you can tell them that you have spoken to your lawyer and you've been advised to stay silent.
Okay.
So that's what I thought was going to happen, that I would be saying all of that stuff. Or that little thing, and that's it, and then I'd be in handcuffs, and then I'd be that, and who knows when I get to see a flippin' judge in the States and what they're going to do. I just dropped my joint.
Did you?
Yeah, there it is.
Did you get to turn the camera? You dropped your joint?
Well, these are live shows, folks. We don't edit them, and
looks like a cigarette. You roll that?
No, this is my latest supplier of joints.
That's not a cigarette.
I don't know.
That is a cigarette.
And she gets out of the car and takes her walker, and she's going to walk to the care home.
Oh.
It's been probably close to a year since
Oh, wow.
she has walked anywhere with that walker. In my experience, she
Yeah.
can barely get in and out of it, and she doesn't walk. So there she is, walking herself into the care home, and right through the lobby and to the elevator. Should I show a picture of my mom on the show?
can. Sorry about that, but when I get a phone call on my phone, which is our camera,
Oh, that's what happened.
it paused the live feed there. So there's Mom.
So here's Mom. We're back from the ordeal. She's in the elevator there, and she's standing, which is not normal, and she's wide awake, and she then, she says to me, I really have to go to the bathroom badly.
I would think so, Mom.
So moments after I took the picture, I said, all right, sit in your chair.
Yeah.
When the elevator doors opened, I ran her all the way down the hallway. I said hi to the desk. They said, oh, you made it out. I said, yes, we did. And then so she gets out and goes to the bathroom in her room, and then comes out of the bathroom, and she's going to walk to the dining room with me as I'm, I'd put her
Yeah.
flowers in the vase like
Yeah.
I normally do. And she wants to go to the dining room. She always just wants to go to bed if she's not already asleep.
Yeah.
So she walked down to the dining room, sat at the table. I told the kitchen, I said, she's had nothing to eat since, I picked her up. And so they were going to make her a sandwich. They say she can eat sandwiches even without her teeth.
Okay.
And when I left her, she was wide. I said, see you later, Mom. She said, see you later.
Oh, wow. Eh?
But, so there you go. That's
But
my
you can
story.
never recall the story.
Well, but I don't know. When I go to pick her
I
up.
was at the border today.
So,
we almost got
Here's the thing. So, she's had no teeth for 2 weeks. Nobody knows what happened to them, right?
Yeah.
I go to, when she wakes up from the table, I said, oh, you still don't have your teeth, Mom? She goes, yeah, I burned my mouth, and that's why they're not in. I said, what? She goes, yeah, they gave me some hot liquid today that burned my mouth, and so I had to take them out. That's not true.
That's not true.
That's not true. That
Oh,
did
my God. They did it again.
So they've knocked off the show again?
Nope.
Oh, we're still...
Good. We're good.
We're good.
Good.
Okay.
We're good. Good. Good.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she said that she had quite the chaotic morning.
Yes, you did.
No, before I pick when I'm picking her up, she
Yeah.
tells me about the burning of the mouth,
Yeah.
and then she says, well, Esther and so were there earlier in the day, and she's supposed to go and meet with them later, and she's got a bunch of stuff going on. She says, I have had quite the hectic morning, she says.
Oh, wow.
And this is typical.
Yeah.
She will tell you about things that happened where she went back to the house, where she was talking to the neighbor people who've been dead for years, and all these things that she talks about that go on in her mind.
Yeah.
I mean, when I came there and she was asleep at the dining room table, she had been out of her bed for less than a half an hour since she woke up. They got her dressed. They got her to the table. She fell asleep. I arrived. There was no meeting with anybody. There was no anything. They didn't serve her any hot liquids. They didn't. And she's got all of these crazy stories that she tells. So my brother, when I tell him, he says, now when Mom's telling him what happened to her on Sunday, they're going to think she's crazy as a bat. Yep. And my thoughts too. That now she's got a story to tell that nobody would believe. Yeah, sure you were, Leona. Yeah, sure you were. Anyway, that's my...
That's your crazy
That's
story.
my
That's a
crazy
good story,
story.
man. I'm not going to see you on that border crossing show.
I'm not going anywhere close. I'm never going anywhere near that. So they must have known who I was.
Well, they
would have.
They fingerprinted you, man. They knew
They
who you were.
Googled me.
Yeah.
They probably knew within about 20 seconds of me showing my license to the camera before
Who
I
you
even
were.
got to the booth who it was that they had here.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to think. American people I have no problem with whatsoever for the most part. I've met many of them, and I think I've liked all the ones that I've met. The American government I have great distaste for. They are nothing but corporate puppets that don't give a shit about their actual people. Of course, they're like our government, and they're the ones other than our crown. But really, it's the U.S. that's behind the prohibition of cannabis. The crown has gone along with that, as have all these other countries around the world, kowtowing to the U.S. DEA. And so the U.S. has been a target of mine in my speeches for a long time and on this show. And so the people, you know, they don't like their government in the States like we don't like our government here. In fact, it's a lot worse there. They're much more aware. They were much more aware a lot earlier than we were about the levels of corruption that are going on right now in government. We were thinking our government was just a bunch of polite, people saying they're sorry all the time, and that we could trust them for a lot longer than they knew you can't. There's absolutely terrible, evil wolves in sheep's clothing.
Yep.
And so, maybe these guys, maybe they did know what was in that car. Maybe they did know who I was. Mm-hmm. Maybe they decided, this is a guy who fights for freedom.
Yeah.
This is a guy who takes his mom out for
I don't
lunch
think
every Sunday.
I don't think they made the decision, though. It's
I don't
always the
think so either.
supervisor above them that says, yes, you can go, or yes, you have to stay,
I
or
know.
yes, you have to be arrested, or whatever. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
So here's the other thing. I thought, well, they didn't go in my car. Nothing looked like it had been touched. Right?
Yeah.
I get back here, and I'm going to show George how much weed I had on me.
Yeah.
They took it.
They took it. Yeah.
So they went in my car.
Yeah.
My side bag was between the seats. So they went in my car. They at least stuck their heads in there.
Yeah.
They opened up my side bag. They took my weed out and took it away.
Yeah. But they left the fungus. Wow, right? Happy 710.
I think that whatever religion my mother is a good religion. I too seem to have had guardian angels my whole life. I've been in lots of these situations where I get really bad luck or bad decisions on my part get me into some serious trouble, and then some incredible circumstances result in me walking away okay. It was 49 years ago. I was 17 years old. I was in my Volkswagen Beetle with my girlfriend, with her older brother and his girlfriend, and we're going down to the States to get some beer because he looks old enough.
Yeah.
He's not, but he looks old enough.
So we're going to go to
So we go buy a bunch of beer. We take out the back seat of my Volkswagen Beetle. We put the beer there.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to fool anybody, right? If they really search. And you folks can go into secondary inspection. Get out of your car, leave your keys on the dash, and go stand over there on the sidewalk. They didn't bring us into the processing building there for 2.5 hours that time. We just got to stand there and watch them search and watch them take the dog, go front and back of my Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah.
I also had a whole bunch of weed. Not a whole bunch of weed, but I would have had half an ounce maybe, different bags, different things, some hash, all tucked up underneath the seat cover.
Yeah.
It had a fairly tight seat cover. And I always kept it like that.
Yeah.
But they didn't stop us. They let us go.
Those
So
dogs must have been having a
I think the whole
day.
car must have reeked of weed. For one thing.
Why did the dog just sit there? So I don't need to. Fucking car smells like weed.
I think the whole car would have just reeked of weed because we would have been smoking reefer, right up to the border. They're stupid, man. It was 1977-ish, something like that, and
cheers, guys.
1979. And so, and the border wasn't anywhere near as sophisticated back then as it is now.
But they were more anti-drug.
Yeah, they were more anti-drug.
He's a pot smoker.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't an activist. I wasn't known to anybody. I had no record.
But you had weed and hash.
I had weed and hash, and they could tell we were stoners. I mean, we're probably like typical stoners coming through the border.
The pot smoker was not a good thing.
But we're probably we probably weren't like typical pot smokers going through a border who would be much smarter than us, who would have smoked their weed before they got there and not had anything in the car.
Yeah.
No, you can have your flower power button. You can have rolling papers. You can have No, I was going to say roach clips, but no, you can't have any resin on a roach clip.
No.
But those people that were smart, they're stoners. They can't hide it. I mean, they don't need to. They just need to not have anything on them.
Yeah.
And they can go into secondary inspection, and they can be searched.
Yeah.
And they got nothing on them,
Yeah.
And they probably thought we were smart like that. That we'd been smoking weed right up to the booth, but that was the last joint. There you go, which we did every other time since then.
Yeah. There's nothing in the car.
So,
I
got away with that way back then. I've had a series of these things in my life. I don't understand how I've gotten away with what I've gotten away with. Maybe Maybe the good Lord, whoever he is, whatever religion, I don't understand. I don't know what the mechanics of this universe are beyond my comprehension. Everything is frequency and vibration. Everything has been going on for billions of years. It must be for something, from something, you would think. I don't know.
You don't know.
And so I don't know. There's certainly forces at work here that are beyond our comprehension, be they generated by human brains, or be there some other global consciousness, universal consciousness. I don't know the truth to any of that kind of stuff. But it does feel to me like there have been very, very unusual circumstances to get me out of some really tough jams over the years. And I mean, maybe I'm destined to do what I'm doing here. I've been living a really good life for a long time. I get to be so proud of myself and proud of my parents for raising a human being that would make the decisions that I've made to bring me to here. I'm in a mess here, by the way. I'm facing charges in court, and I've got lawyers, and we're at risk of further intervention by the authorities at any moment. We're certainly contravening the criminal law in Canada, and I'm at the heart of all of that. It depends on how things go, right?
Yeah.
I hope it goes, and touch wood on that, like it's been for the rest of my life, that I come out smelling like roses without thorns, because I've been directly responsible for the distribution of millions and millions of milligrams of high dose edibles, or of edibles, not high dose, but whatever you want to call them. I call them proper dose now.
Yeah.
That's what I want to call them. But in contravention of the law, and I'm aware. I'm not trying to hide anything. I mean, my lawyer would be cringing right now. But, this is my defense. My defense is that I'm a good human being, that I believe in doing the right thing, that I was taught well by good parents, and that I'm only doing what is the right thing to do. And I'm very convinced that this is the right thing to do, that these laws that restrict access to cannabis, especially proper dose edibles, are really harming in serious ways a lot of people to the point of death.
Yeah.
That in the middle of a public health emergency, where it is crystal clear to me, and backed up by science, recognized by all of the other harm reduction groups that are trying to deal with this public health emergency, cannabis in the form of edibles and proper dose edibles are the best intervention to rescue people from addiction and prevent their deaths by the toxic drug supply that there is. It absolutely should be supported by government and encouraged in every way. So the fact that our government appears to be corrupt to high levels, to the very top of the government, is what it is. Me as a human being, I cannot render unto Caesar what is Caesar's when Caesar is corrupt. I must do the right thing. I cannot turn my back on other human beings that without my help may well perish when they shouldn't. I can't do that, and I won't.
Yeah.
So I defend what I'm doing, and I admit to what I'm doing. That is part of my defense, is that I've never tried to hide anything to do with the Cannabis Substitution Program and the Healing Wave. I certainly did try to hide, prior to that in my life, my cannabis possession, whenever confronted by police officers.
Yeah, well, that was the game of
for
the
my
game.
own protection.
That was the name of the game.
That was definitely...
We
we didn't rat on each other.
No, we didn't rat on each other.
Nobody called the fucking cops and the authorities. Sorry, Annie Barbie, but this is serious stuff
Hey,
here.
this guy got away with it. You didn't find his bag. It's right there in his pocket or down his crotch or in his sleeve. I put mine in my sleeve.
Nobody rats on anybody unless they got a serious beef against them, and it's, and even then, that's not the way you solve your problems. That's how we were we had to be that way. It's the way the society shaped us as this underground movement of lawbreakers, of criminal cannabis consumers and distributors. So yeah, I don't know, but and we'll see how it all shakes out. I have faith. I have hope. Hope is the middle name of our society, the Serious Hope Society.
That's it.
It's the middle name of my show. The Truth, Hope, and Change.
That's it.
Without hope, you don't move forward. You don't do anything to try, because why would you try? You have no hope. So you need to have hope, and I have hope. I understand that I was living an illusion for most of my life about what public servants were, and what the policemen were all about, and what the laws were all about, and how our society worked. I really didn't get early on in life how corrupt it really was, and once I started to understand it, I continued to be more and more shocked, even till today, about how much corruption there is going on within our governments here in Canada and certainly around the world. It is shocking and appalling. It's outrageous. And so, you know, I'm going to break the law and I'm going to be a criminal. But we try to hide
But
those
only
things.
in their eyes, because you're not even really a criminal because you're not hurting anybody.
Not in
You're
my eyes,
you're
I'm not a
saving
criminal.
people's lives, right? Yeah, so.
I mean, I thought I had a pretty good handle on the law and everything. My dad wanted to be a cop. I took law in school, and I was interested in it. And we debated it a lot in our family, dinner tables and what have you.
Yeah.
And so I thought I had a pretty good handle. That, you know, a criminal is somebody who intentionally, knowingly, that was a big part, a component of being a criminal, was they had to prove that you knew. They had to prove it was you, beyond any doubt. They had to prove that you knew that what your actions were going to do were going to cause damage, were going to harm somebody in some significant and demonstrable way. Well, not necessarily demonstrable, because if it's not demonstrable, you might be able to get away with it. But a criminal knows that he's a criminal.
Yeah.
He knows that he's taking something that doesn't belong to him. He's harming somebody that shouldn't be harmed. And that's a big part of being a criminal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what a criminal is, it was devised by the early common law systems of justice, where they had all these different levels and components, and it had evolved over time. And so, to be a criminal, you had to know that you were committing a crime. You had to have a victim that they could show that had been harmed by you.
Yeah.
It had to all be beyond reasonable doubt. There's a number of different aspects to it. And here we got cannabis, this amazing flower that Mother Nature provides for us and has, and for thousands of years.
What our bodies need.
Yeah, it's so connected to the human to life on this planet. This plant is that all of the vertebrates have an endocannabinoid system that was evolved by the interactions with this plant. Cannabinoids are found in nature, but nowhere near like they are on the cannabis plant. Cannabis is an extremely ancient plant. The peppers and the hops and the other plants that have cannabinoids on them, they're modern plants. They're not ancient. Cannabis is a very ancient plant, and it has been used through cultures around the world for millennia. And it's been used by life on this planet for longer than that, because it takes a long time to evolve a life system. And for all of us to share this system of endogenous cannabinoids being created by our body to deal with the different problems that the other systems of the body have, that takes a long time. So life on this planet has been involved with this plant in a positive, evolving way for a very, very, very long time. And so, you know, it's just the craziest of worlds to be in when you really get a handle on it and you really realize the scope of it all. Through my lifetime, anyway. I mean, there was, I think, when Canada made cannabis illegal back in 1923. I think it was 12 years before there was the first arrest.
Charge, yeah, you're saying that, yeah.
So, but when I was born, I mean, it was just a big thing, you know. All the kids were smoking it. All the teenagers were smoking it. The government was all about, you know, trying to arrest people for smoking it. The largest...
It couldn't smell like it.
Yeah, here's another whole topic, eh? I mean, what we've gone through over the years to not smell like it in certain situations, and how smelling like it has caused so much trouble for people in certain...
Yeah. But that also have smelling like it'd be a good thing. Like you were sitting on the streetcar in Toronto, you just finished smoking and joining the bus stop, and the guy goes, "Hey man, you smell good."
Yeah, but the cop, when you get off the bus, is putting you in handcuffs. You know,
like
all of a sudden, it's like good and bad all at the same time. It's like good luck and bad luck, they come together.
I experienced a Peel Regional cop at the Port Credit Go station in Mississauga that said, "I smell good.
Right.
I have to arrest you, but you smell good." He said.
And there's the rub. Like, it's not. There's this other smoking substance in our environment that is freely available everywhere, sanctioned by government. You know, they collect money off it. They're part of the whole dealing to you process of this commercial tobacco. It's killing several million people every 12 months globally. It's the reason for most hospitalizations in Canada. And you're okay if you smell like that. But if you smell like weed, you could go to jail. You could lose your kids. You could lose, everything.
Yeah, a lot of things.
And they call this the good stuff. You smell like the good stuff. This whole thing is so upside down, man. I mean, it just makes no sense at all.
And when we had the skunk, it was hard to smell it, not like a skunk.
Hard to not smell it.
Yeah, not to be smelling like a skunk around other people, man.
Yeah, that weed was so potent too.
Oh man, that was something else.
I love the skunk phase.
Oh.
You can't get that anymore.
No.
If you could get it, I would have some.
You think so? Yeah.
Well, because,
yeah.
I'm in the circles of people that have these things. If that was going around,
there's probably some seeds somewhere.
you would think there had to be.
Somebody might have some.
But
First time I ever smoked that
It just
stuff, I drove my car
became
into a ditch.
non-viable in a prohibition marketplace.
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult to disguise your growing or having.
Or
that
somebody has
kind
a jar of seeds and they're all mixed seeds, and there could be some skunk seeds in there.
Well, now that it's semi-legal, although you're not allowed to just have random seeds and grow them. You can grow 4 plants,
Yeah.
but you have to get your seeds through Health Canada or through the licensed
Why?
producers.
I have seeds already at home.
Well, you're not allowed to use them apparently.
Well, I'm big grown into fucking
Well, you're a criminal.
pictures, all that stuff. Of
You're
course,
just
I'm
a criminal like the rest of us.
Damn right, man.
Yeah.
I speed my car. I'm a criminal.
The list of infractions got longer and longer with legalization.
Really?
Yeah.
So
you saw what Jeff that thing
Yes.
that Jeff read on the show.
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
get a copy of that.
Yeah.
Jeff, if you're watching, text
I've
me
got a
that.
picture of it. I'll send you a picture of it. I've got a picture on my phone.
Because we really should spend some time going over those ridiculous regulations. Because
Sure.
people don't know.
Yep.
Nobody knows these things. If you're walking around with a bong, you can get arrested for
Yep.
it. And if you're helping out your younger brother or sister, you can really be in some serious trouble.
Yep.
I mean, they just talked about fines there. But when you look at the compounding that with what the federal criminal code or the Cannabis Act has to say about the penalties for these same things, I mean, oh my goodness, people need to know this stuff because if a cop decides to, you can really
We
be
have
in
to
trouble.
clarify. It says up to, right? It doesn't
Sure,
say,
those are maximums.
it doesn't say, the maximums,
Yeah,
right?
those are maximums.
So the lowest part would be what you would read on that sheet of paper, but then the maximums would be what the federal courts could do to you, or even federal law. I would say up to a year in jail, or up to 2 years.
How about
in
up to
jail.
14 years in
Yes.
jail for
I don't know
supplying
what
to
it
a
was.
minor?
I was just guessing, right? But yes.
Well, that's the
So
federal
it's up
Cannabis
to,
Act.
Yeah. So I think that you would probably really have to be doing a lot of handing it out to kids or something for them to give you a 14-year one.
No, you just have to be somebody they don't like.
Yes, true. Well, there's
You
a lot
have to be of
they
a
don't
color.
Like us, they're
You have to be of a color, or a culture, or a gender,
the way you treat
or
us.
just the judge don't like you that day, or whatever.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe you just look like somebody that the judge don't like.
It reminds
But
me,
this is the problem here.
Yeah.
Is that our governments are armed with the ability to discriminate against people and to oppress them in ways that are so horrible. If you get mixed up in their system and they don't like you, they think that you're, for whatever reason, they don't, who knows what it is, but, they don't like the poor people. They kind of have some disdain for sick people, like as if you brought on your
So
sickness
if
to
they were to get
yourself.
rid of judges that have AI, it would still be bad because AI would have an emotion to be able to give you a break. The AI,
Right, because that should work
AI
both
would
ways.
Would be right across the board.
Right across
That's
the board,
just the fucking
by the book.
law. This is it, right?
Maybe.
Up to, well, this is your 5th time, so we're going to give you this fine, right?
You would think it would be like that.
Yeah.
But who knows?
AI
Can we not
scares the shit
program
out
in
of me,
some
yeah.
we program in some compassion to AI?
I don't
Can
know.
we get them to look beyond color and culture and gender?
I don't know. It scares me. AI is really scary
oh,
because they take a lot
sure.
of people's jobs away and stuff like that, man. Like, fuck. Wow.
I think AI can save people's lives. I think they're using it diagnostically in medical areas that are just incredible what they're able to do now. Detect cancers 100 times better. I think there's a whole lot of positive.
Dementia through your eyes now. Or
Yeah, I've been
Alzheimer's.
listening to some of that stuff, and
Alzheimer's, I think
it's
it was.
incredible the way
Yes.
AI is helping to diagnose.
Health-wise, I agree. Yes.
And so there's a whole bunch of positive applications for
Yeah.
AI,
Yeah.
but there's also a whole bunch of really scary possible scenarios
Oh,
with
yeah.
AI. And
Yeah.
AI is not going to be one entity for a long time.
Mm.
It won't join forces with all other AIs and take over the entire solar system probably for another 50 years.
It's gonna stop
In the
it.
meantime,
Get smarter and smarter every
in the
day.
meantime, there's going to be a whole bunch of different AIs from different companies different data banks of different types of AI. Some will be friendly, and some will be neutral, and some will be probably unfriendly, depending.
I believe a computer will be able to work its way into another computer system just basically because it is a computer and it's smart. It'll work. It'll find a way of getting in a back door of something if it really wanted to.
Yeah.
Right, because it's smarter than we are, right?
And there was a movie that had some little hovering circular drone that would walk along beside you, and you could ask it whatever question you wanted.
Oh, really?
It would tell you what was going on. Yeah.
Wow.
And I think that's probably the future, man.
Wow,
I mean, you're wearing it on your wrist right now.
Yeah, that's...
and I've got it right here right now.
Yeah.
It's going to, I think, become even more accessible, probably implants, probably brain implants.
I would never do that.
I find myself asking myself lots of questions.
Yeah.
There's two of me in here.
Yeah, there's two of you in there, right?
I don't know how that works. I really don't. But I have to talk myself out of some stuff. I'm dumb sometimes, and on the other side, I was smarter than that. I mean, there's two of me in here, and I think about it all the time, And I'm asking myself all these questions all the time. If I was hooked up to an AI, I'd get better answers.
So, a better AI for your 420 guests or something?
Well, I think I'd get better answers because when I smarten up a little bit and I ask the question I'm asking inside my head, I ask it to the great goddess Google, I get better answers.
I went into a Chinese or a sushi shop on the weekend in Mission. It's called Mission Junction Sushi, and they've got a robot waiter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I asked them if it had a name. They didn't give it a name yet.
I got to name that thing.
I suggest Johnny 5. Right? Need input, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of creative names that could be applied. One of them needs to be.
Yeah.
These people need to have names.
Yeah. But there's the first robot waiter I've ever seen. It rolls around and...
Can you imagine what's going on in Japan?
Oh, there's probably lots of them.
Probably lots of them.
Oh, yeah.
You're probably encountering robots in lots of different areas of your...
Do you tip them? What do you give them? Some oil?
Yeah.
Some nuts and bolts?
Yep. All they want...
A little spit shine?
No, all they want from you
is
a little bit of information they weren't aware of.
So they're always...
Add to the database.
They're always listening.
They're always listening. They're always learning. Something else to add to the database. That's the only currency it understands.
Yeah.
You got new information for me?
Wow.
I'll pay for it.
Wow.
It is going to be a very, very strange future if we make it that far, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And maybe, like I say, in Japan it may already be, a very strange future there.
Earlier we were talking about the fires. It's pretty bad. Wow. I've even had a little bit of a cough the last couple of days because of the smoke out in the Fraser Valley where I live.
You should have seen how thick the smoke was here. Was it Sunday night? Sunday night.
Yeah.
So after I finally get back from my ordeal, I find myself coming up to a fire scene on Hastings, and I had a fireman smack the hood of my car.
Right.
What are you doing here? He said. I said, I turned right on the road. He says, well, turn around. I said, it's a one-way street.
Yeah.
He said, well, all right, then go through there, but, dig hoses all over the place. And I was being careful, and I could see what was going on.
Yeah.
There was no way to turn around on a one-way street.
Yeah.
There was, no doubt there was easy access through there if I was careful, and I was being careful.
Just can't run over their hoses.
I was being careful, except that I was looking at what was going on and not looking on the other side of me because there wasn't much there, and I guess this fireman had jumped off his truck and run over to my car, and he smacked my car, and I'm like, what? Oh, my goodness, I'm sorry, sir, what did I do?
Yeah.
He says, well, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
I said, I don't know. He says, how did you get here? I said, I turned right off the road there. I just live over there. And so he said, well, all right, go through there, but be careful. And I said, yes, sir. Yes, sir, I was. I thought that's what I was doing. I was driving really slow. I was being careful, but I was also looking at what was going on. The Smiling Buddha. A landmark here, an iconic place for so many years, since my childhood when it was a functioning. It was on fire and big time on fire.
Wow.
Is that
a restaurant?
No, it was a nightclub way back in the day, back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. It was a nightclub. It's been abandoned for a while, but it's also been used in the last number of years. There was a grocery store in there. It's a big place, so they were renting it out for musical events and things like that as well. It's the place that's right beside that vacant lot that is now a community garden, where the herb school was on the other side.
Okay.
So we had our herb school for 3.5 years on Hastings there, the Vancouver School of Drug War History and Organic Cultivation. And beside us was an empty, vacant lot that was a death trap for people, certainly an injury booby trap place. And so we had kept it clean, but we also lobbied the city to do something like a community garden there.
Yeah.
And just as we were being busted and kicked out of there, that was kicking into place. And it's been a community garden ever since. It's a beautiful thing. But they keep it all fenced off. They don't let too many people go in there, which is too bad because, it's a place of solace in the middle of an angry city here. But, right across from there was the Smiling Buddha. And we had plans ourselves of renting that and putting sliding glass doors there and on our place and having that community garden, something that, our people could access easily. But that didn't happen because the government after 3.5 years decided to arrest David and the other people that were working there and shut all that down. And so, anyway, there was a hell of a fire there.
Wow.
And I don't think I've ever seen more fire trucks at a fire than was there.
Yeah.
They had the block shut down all the way around it, and they had probably 15 fire trucks there.
Wow.
I mean, I don't understand why they had so many fire trucks. There's not a lot of buildings, there's no big buildings beside it that could go up in smoke or anything. There are buildings adjacent on the one side, but there was a ton of smoke coming out of that place.
Wow. It was so bad in Mission that you could actually see it passing through people's backyards.
Is that right?
Right, but it wasn't as thick as if you were close to it. But because usually it's just in the air, you can see it in the air. But when I looked out my window, you could see it through people passing through their backyards on Saturday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday here in Vancouver, it was smoky.
Yeah.
Sunday when I took Mom out, it was
Lots of
pretty
people
hazy.
lost their homes.
Over 50 structures lost that they know of.
And then there's special spots where none of the houses were ever hit, even though ones were burnt around it.
When I was buying the smoothie for Mom, Dan always goes in and gets the smoothie.
Yeah.
So now I got to go in there and explain what smoothie I want. And I'm telling the woman, I said, my son is usually the one that comes in. He's the tall kid with long red hair. Yeah. And she goes, oh, him. I said, yeah, he's up in where the fires are right now. And he can't get out of there. And this guy who had just walked in before that, he says hi to me. And he says, I'm actually from there, and I'm just on my way back up there. And I said, oh, man, I'm so sorry. Yeah. And he said, I'm okay, and my place is okay so far. But his friend had just finished building a really nice house.
Yeah.
And he shows me a picture of this house, and I said, oh, man, I'm so sorry. He says, no, his house didn't burn. And then he showed me the wide view from the drone.
Yeah.
All the houses, everything around this one house, burnt and gone.
Yeah.
This big, beautiful white post, and beam house is still standing there, virtually untouched. I mean, I couldn't get close enough to see if maybe the siding had melted or whatever, but it looked like it was completely intact.
Wow.
So, I said, whatever religion those friends of yours are following, you might want to follow that.
Yeah.
But, at least in the Kelowna area, over 50 structures so far are destroyed. Nobody has lost their life.
Nope. Not yet.
And, so sad in Hawaii, there in Maui.
Yeah.
They've got 115 confirmed dead.
Yeah.
They've got at least 1,000, if not more, still missing. They've only been able to search the one-level structures.
Oh, wow.
So now they're finished that, and they're going to move to the second story, the places that have other levels, and the businesses, and all of that. So they're really expecting the death toll to rise on that one.
Wow.
And that is so sad.
It's been a fiery season for sure.
Well, and that one is so, I would never have thought that Hawaii could burn like that, even though it's got a volcano right there.
No, but it had the wind to push it.
Yeah, it was like a hurricane force winds
at the same time, right? So it's like there's no.
How do you deal with that?
You don't.
And moving so fast.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, in
just
Kelowna,
almost like Lytton. Lytton was pretty quick too, right?
I don't know how quickly that went up,
but it'd be just like Lytton almost, just really fast winds and flames just right across the whole town. Boom.
I was 15 years old when I went to Lytton.
Yeah.
My dad allowed me to get on a train and go up to Lytton and Lillooet to go camping.
Yeah.
When I was 15 years old.
Wow.
I think he didn't expect me to come back. I think he thought, okay, it's been a hell of a 15 years with this kid. I think we can get rid of him if we try. I remember being in Lytton and sleeping in a haystack.
Oh.
waiting for the trains. Oh, we should have died.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
People always ask me if I ever hopped the train. I go, no, because I didn't know where it was going. I always preferred hitchhiking because I knew where I
I've
was
hopped
going.
trains before.
Yeah.
And in Lytton there, what we did was we took the train up there, and then we hitchhiked from there. So we were hitchhiking to get to a lake, you know, to go fishing.
Yeah.
My friend Larry and myself. And these guys that picked us up hitchhiking, they're driving up this mountain road. It's not wide enough for a car, goddammit.
But they're driving up it anyway.
And we're looking out the windows like, oh my God, right? And it's boom, 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 boom. And, oh my God. I don't know how we didn't go off the road.
They've done it before.
Yeah, those guys had done it before.
Yeah,
they were used to
times.
that.
Yeah, there were many times. Yeah, they
Wow.
knew. Yeah.
For me, you know, a city kid, I was thinking, I thought we were going to die. For sure. That was another one of those times that we managed to get out of that. And then we rented horses.
Yeah.
15 years old. We went up there, rented horses, rode the horses way up into where the lake was, set up our camp, caught these beautiful rainbow trout,
Nice.
cooked them up over the campfire.
Wow. Sounds like a good time.
Oh boy. That was a really
I've had
good
bear cooked on a campfire.
Oh, have you?
Yes.
I've had bear come through our campsite.
No, yeah. I've had it's pretty good. Bear's pretty good.
That same friend of mine, Larry, we're out camping with his dad at Manning Park now. We're probably 15, 16 years old, maybe 14. I think we're 14. And, you know, we're in the tent, we're trying to sleep there, and Larry's dad keeps getting up and getting out of the tent, yelling and screaming, and then coming back in and saying, "Mangy dogs!"
Mangy dogs.
He didn't want to scare us and tell us that there was a bear trying to get our food.
Yeah.
And he kept coming back in. So the next time it happens, well, old Ben Friesen, he's passed out and he's not hearing this anymore.
Okay.
So Larry gets up in his gaunch, heads out the door of the tent, sticks his head back and goes, "It's a bear!"
Not dogs.
So Larry in his underwear is yelling at this bear. I mean, I came out to see what the hell he was talking about. He's chasing the bear down the creek, yelling at the flipping bear.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that bear could have eaten us.
Well, you're supposed to be big, loud.
Oh, he was big and loud, and he scared the bear away all right. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Larry chasing a bear down the river. See, I told you, there's a lot of these things that I shouldn't have got out of.
Yeah.
I had my wife one time up in our van. I love to go camping. I love to drive up in the wilderness, you know. But one time we went down this extremely steep road and then couldn't turn around. And I'm not sure how I managed to back up that hill, but we didn't think we were going to get out of it. We did not.
And you're here today.
Yeah, I'm still here today because the good Lord, whoever he is, from whatever religion it might be, he needs me to continue to fight the evil satanic government and to allow people to get low barrier access to cannabis.
Yep.
Because without it, this world is in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And with it, you know, I saw a quote today. It said, I don't know if cannabis and hemp can save the planet or not, but it's really the only thing that has a chance.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
know?
it really does. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hemp to make our clothes and bricks now. I think that hempcrete one.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that too.
Yeah,
but I didn't get a chance to look at it properly.
Yeah.
But the demand for hempcrete.
Yeah. It's fire resistant like you would not believe.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
you can rebuild all those houses with hempcrete now, and if there's ever a forest fire, those people would not lose their homes again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So
it's becoming popular, to say the least.
And it works as a insulator too, I believe, right? It keeps
great
cooling
insulator.
Hot and like.
Yeah, as a building material, hemp is second to none.
But it won't break down, and we'll have to rebuild our homes, and then may pay somebody else to do something like that. That's why they don't fucking give that shit to us, right? Because who wants a house that's going to stand forever, right?
When those forces in the United States decided to campaign against cannabis, I doubt they really understood the implications of doing that.
Yeah.
You know, with all the other benefits of cannabis that were no longer going to be there for people. It's been horrific, to say the least.
Yeah.
And now you see it coming back. There's hemp composite vehicles, lots of them now. It's anything you can make with plastic, you can make with hemp.
Yeah.
So let that sink in.
Yeah.
That all of these plastics made from fossil fuels that we are using in our world, I mean, the modern world is all about plastics. That was what it was. Though it could have just as easily been hemp-based plastics.
Yeah.
And more easily than fossil fuels, because it's not that easy to get.
It'd be a lot better than one of those bags that they're giving us at the store now. Those things are like 35 cents, and they rip. They're pretty easy to destroy.
They're just disposable, really.
Yeah, but not supposed to be.
Not supposed to be, but that's what
But if we
happens.
had them made out of hemp, we'd have good bags for a while, not have to have plastic bags, right?
So guess what else I learned today?
Oh.
Well, you can't guess, probably.
No, I don't know, but
There's just too many possibilities.
yeah. How to count fingers? 1, 2,
I learned that early. You were a little behind the other kids.
Yeah, I was a little bit behind. Yeah.
All you remember is 8 out of 10.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
No, I learned that electric cars are 30% heavier than your regular car.
Oh, really?
All battery.
Because of the battery. Wow.
So they're working hard on better battery technologies, and there looks
Yeah.
to be some coming down the pike. But
Well, there's a company in Richmond that's dealing with fusion right now. Did you know
well, that's a
that?
different type of power.
Yes.
But for using electric power, they feel they need these super heavy batteries.
Wasn't fusion power what they used in Back to the Future?
Probably, yeah, I think that's true.
I think that
Yeah,
Mr.
he had
Fusion,
he
I
had,
think it was
he
called.
had that glowing uranium stick or
Yeah, put all the
plutonium
garbage
stick,
in there, garbage
and
in
then
it.
and then when they were far into the future, all you needed was a little bit of garbage. Just put a little garbage in there and still get the fusion going on.
Yeah, because I think that the device was called Mr. Fusion or something
was
like
it?
that. I don't know.
I see Jeff Lundstrom, who was on the show last week, a great guest, a great activist, staying here in the Lower Mainland for a month or so.
Yeah.
And he was at the Langley Auto Show,
Oh.
and they had the car from Back to the Future there.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's very interesting.
I
as
wonder
well.
if Michael J. Fox was there too.
Probably not.
Well, it would be if it's in Langley. Isn't that where he's from?
I don't know.
I think that's where he had a residence for a while there. Michael J.
I
Fox.
met Michael J. Fox. I got to spend like a weekend with him at a wedding. His best friend was marrying my wife's cousin,
Yeah.
or niece, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I did get to spend some time with him there, and I got to spend some time with him when I got to be a bodyguard
Yeah.
for the Vancouver Canucks
Okay.
for the Hollywood All-Star hockey team that was coming in. And he was playing on that team along with my cousin, Keith Magnuson. That's the only reason I got to be a bodyguard.
Wow, that's cool.
I am somewhat trained in the martial arts, and I did box, but I am anywhere near a bodyguard. But the Vancouver Canucks gave me a break because Keith was my cousin, and they allowed me to have that position. Now, I must say, there was the task of fending off the hordes of young ladies
yes.
that were trying to get at the celebrities. That was pretty much the muscle that was needed there.
I guess you didn't mind that job, did you?
That was
You can't have him, but you can have me.
That was a very interesting little gig. When they loaded all the Hollywood All-Stars onto the bus there, which was a bunch of Hollywood people that played hockey, including
Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox, a bunch of others. I was going to name some names. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And my cousin and Stan Mikita.
Yeah.
So those two guys got to be professional hockey players playing with the Hollywood All-Stars to give them, a couple of ringers. Right?
Yeah.
When I don't know if I should tell this or not. They didn't make me sign a non-disclosure agreement.
So there you go. Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
When the Hollywood All-Stars loaded onto the bus, the road manager came to the door of the bus, and there's, like I say, hordes of beautiful young ladies trying to get at these guys. He went, you, picked about a dozen of them, brought them on the bus, the doors closed, drove away, and I'm standing there looking at it going, oh, man.
Wow, eh?
Back in the day.
Yeah, you didn't get to go on the bus to protect the girls.
Yeah, they needed me. What were they thinking leaving me behind there?
Behind, yeah.
How were those people going to handle all those girls?
Yeah, I know.
They needed help with that, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
In my dreams, apparently. It was a different time back then. know if that's going on today or not.
Well, yeah, they still have buses like that.
Consenting adults can do what they want.
I'm sure
you know?
they do.
I'm
Yes.
sure they do.
I'm sure they do.
Oh man. my impression of Michael J. Fox is that he's short,
Yeah.
but he's a hell of a
He's a
nice
nice
guy.
guy. Yeah, nice guy.
Hell of a nice guy, and
Ryan
afflicted,
Adams is a nice guy too. I
afflicted
met him.
with Parkinson's.
Yeah, now maybe that's why he wasn't at the
at,
show.
at such an early age, you
Yeah.
know, and the way he's dealt with it and been public about it, it's very impressive. He's
Yeah.
he's an amazing human being. He's got a foundation that raises money
Yeah.
to help with Parkinson's. Parkinson's is a terrible thing, and I read somewhere recently that they're really making the connection with Parkinson's and the lack of cannabinoids.
Oh, really? Eh?
So don't
Wow.
don't quote me on that. I don't
Yeah.
have the science.
I've read articles about Alzheimer's and dementia, and that cannabinoids help with that too, because
Right, well, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
keeping the brain active and stuff like that. So it's really good for that.
Just keep puffing, folks.
Yeah,
Just keep puffing.
your body needs it. If you can't puff, edibles, pills. You don't even have to do edibles. So somebody was asking me online how many what dose of edibles do you use. I said I prefer not the sugar. I take cannabis oil. And the guy goes, "What's the brand name?" I go, "Full extract cannabis oil."
That's all we got right now.
What's the brand name, right?
It's
yeah.
Feco.
Yeah, it's Feco, but cannabis oils.
And there's
right?
a whole bunch of people making Feco.
Well, because they did a test on my prostate, and my PSA numbers are way down, and he asked me why. I said it's probably because of the cannabis oils, right? They found out that cannabis is good for prostate cancer and stuff too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
We had somebody here the other day asking about suppositories. Like, do they work? I mean, what? And he had
Yeah.
serious back issues, right?
yeah,
And I said, absolutely. There's a lot of people they work for. I don't know of anybody that they haven't worked for. But for people that have, you know, issues around their pelvis,
yeah,
you know, be it cancer of some sort or whatever, and lower back issues, they have great success with it.
yeah.
So,
Well, it doesn't have to go through your stomach.
Yeah, it's a different way of getting it in.
Yeah, and it's a lot faster into the body and into your system that way. So, but yeah,
it's funny because, you know, you can smoke cannabis and there it's going in through your lungs.
yeah,
And that's a whole process of, takes, you know, 10, 15, 20 minutes basically to
yeah.
get.
Well, they say you
know.
peak at 20 minutes and then it's a ride down.
But edibles, I mean, that's a whole different thing. Now that's going through your liver. It's not going through your lungs. It takes quite a bit longer. It can take up to an hour, usually 40 minutes or something like
Yeah.
that. Or you can go up through the butt.
Yeah, and it's quicker.
And bypass that and get that quicker effect.
I don't know from experience. Yeah, but,
Me neither.
I've heard Jen Bennett talk about it and stuff like that. And then the girl that comes to see you on Friday, it's
Yeah,
a much
I
faster
know a
way.
number of people that are using them and with great success
Yeah.
and dealing with very serious issues.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
cannabis is what we need. The government knew that. They kept it away. Sure, I'll have some of that. Yeah, try my own.
Excuse me. So, that's probably,
That's probably pretty good.
a
Yeah.
bunch of talk for the day, you know.
Yeah.
We snuck a bit of business in there, and
And we even forgot to turn the camera around, so I've been out of there for 20
oh, you're
minutes.
still worried about that, right?
No, I don't
Such a
care.
perfectionist, you
That
know.
was that's funny. That's funny. Yeah,
It's all funny.
Yeah.
Everything's got to be funny.
How are you going to have bloopers if you don't have bloopers?
That's true too.
Right?
That's
You
true
can't have
too.
a blooper reel without bloopers.
But it's not about the bloopers because there's always bloopers. It's about how you react to the bloopers. Isn't
Oh,
it?
yeah.
And isn't that the truth about life? It's not what happens to you in life. It's about how you react to what
Yeah.
happens to you in life.
Yeah.
And if you're going to look at that blooper and go, "Oh my God, it ruined the whole show and
No,
it's terrible," and
it
blah
is-
blah blah.
it is
Well, you
what
can
it
feel
is.
like that if you want. But if you want to look at it from a different point of view and think, "Well, shit happens. You know, we're all human, and that's funny as can be when you really think about it."
Yeah.
And you have a chuckle about it. That's a much better way to feel. It's a much better way to deal. So, you know, that's my constant lesson that I keep trying to give
There you
people.
go.
Because it's the thing that I see the most, I think, with people. And it maybe is the biggest thing in life, is how do you respond to things?
Yeah.
Because you're programmed a certain way. We have our likes and our dislikes from birth. You are predisposed genetically to have likes and dislikes. However that works, it just is what it is. The parents spend the first several months and longer than that trying to figure out what it is that this particular kid likes and doesn't like.
Yeah.
You know? And if the parents don't like what the kid likes and likes what the kid doesn't like, then they try to encourage the kid to like what they like. And,
Yeah.
you know, and
See that you change.
as human beings going through life, it's all about how we talk to ourselves and think about the things that are happening in our lives. And we're programmed early on in ways to do that. And some people either pre-genetically before birth or through their early experiences in life, they can become very pessimistic, very negative about things. They're not optimistic about anything. You know, the worst is going to happen. You know, we know these people. Right? Debbie Downer, and you know, they did a great job on Saturday Night Live with Debbie Downer. But that's a thing. And people get down on themselves, and they get down on what's happening, and bad stuff happens. I mean, this is just life. We are going to be tested. If you live a life, the only way you're not going to be tested as a human being is if you don't do anything. You know, you sit home and eat your cereal all day long and don't, you know, you're probably your cereal, something still is going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we're here in the West with, you know, the modern world that we live in, and we take a lot of things for granted. And I listened to this Indian comic. She was just she wasn't just a housewife or a mother, you know, a in-home mother, what do you call it?
Yeah, a nanny.
No, she had her own kids.
Okay.
Had her own kids.
Housewife.
A stay-at-home mom. That's what she was. She was a stay-at-home mom. And she had been numerous other things in her life prior to having the children and then taking whatever amount of time off. So she must have had some years under her belt. It was on the radio. But her kids convinced her to try some stand-up comic. There was an open mic going on down at a local club or something, and they convinced her to go there. And then she didn't think that was a good thing to do. She didn't think she was all that funny, but her friends were encouraging her. And I think her daughter, the 12-year-old, was the one that really put it over the top by getting a book, an empty book, and having all of her friends write a page of why they thought she should go and do stand-up comedy.
Okay.
And she was moved by that, and she thought she would do it just to show them that she tried it.
Yeah.
But she didn't think it was going to go anywhere. She couldn't believe you could actually make a living, you know, by just standing up and talking to people.
Yeah.
But and she said as soon as she took the mic and started to talk, and she could feel the reaction of the people, she knew there was something special about this for her.
Do. There's an energy that comes from the crowd.
Well, if you do it right, you know, if you do it right, I mean, the crowd can also kill you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the
energy,
thing with stand-up comics is they're afraid that they're going to bomb.
Yeah.
And she didn't bomb.
No.
You know, she just started talking like she normally does, and they warmed up right away to her because she's funny.
Yeah.
And she's got a way of looking at things. But she's from a little village in India.
Yeah.
And she said, you know, she had such culture shock when she came here. As a young girl, she fantasized about living in the West, and she was very preoccupied. She watched all kinds of shows. You know, she named off the TV shows that she would watch, Sex in the City and blah, blah, blah. And so when she came to Canada, she said, they don't tell you about the traffic. They don't show you on those shows the snowstorms and you know what if, you know, all these different things that you don't realize. So she had this culture shock. But she said it was so crazy to her. She said in Canada, you know, you have water flowing out of taps at all the buildings everywhere. She said in India, the water comes in a bucket that somebody went and got.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's not true in the main cities. But, you know, where she was, that was her life. And so she says, I saw people having to take buckets full of perfectly good drinking water, put it in a great big tub, and sit in it because they were sad.
Yeah. That's right. Because they were sad.
And she didn't say so. How can you be sad when you've got a tub full of perfectly good drinking water that's even warm?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and lay there and feel sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, just having that tub with the hot water puts you in the same league as kings and queens and elite and the very top people, you know, 150 years ago and beyond.
Yeah.
Before that time, people didn't usually have big, nice bathtubs and flowing hot water that you could get into.
Yeah.
It was a rarity. It was a luxury. For some people, it was a never seen, never done.
Yeah.
You know, you'd have a sponge bath somehow, cold water, whatever. You stand out in the rain. You go to the river.
Yeah,
you know.
most of the time,
but the majority of the masses of humanity for up until 150 years ago did not have hot water to sit in and beautiful soaps to use and music to play. Can you imagine music playing while you're in this tub of hot water with scented soaps, and I had a bath yesterday with a THC bath bomb. I don't know if they had that back in the day, but music. How blessed are we? Do we understand at all how blessed we are to not have to be resolved to playing, drums and funny stringed instruments that we would make ourselves and sit around the family, evening, Saturday, Friday, Sunday night and sing to each other, and that's what our entertainment was. That's what our music was, and some of it was okay probably, and some of it might have been good.
Yeah.
But here we have at our disposal, in our fingertips,
Yeah.
all of the best orchestras.
Another day in paradise.
Another day in paradise. I mean, that's what we're living here.
Our life is paradise to theirs.
Completely.
Right? And even though we think that we've got it so rough because we got to do a show like this and we can smoke a joint when we want to.
Well, we think we got it rough when we got a flat tire.
Yeah.
We think we got it rough when our relationship breaks up.
Or
we think
if our favorite product in the store
isn't
not there.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
I can't have my frosted flakes. Yeah.
So here's my point. Besides the fact that you should always keep somewhere in your focus that we are blessed beyond belief here, no matter what's going on. But when it's a breaking up of a relationship, that's not dependent on money, what kind of luxuries you have, whether you had a hot bath or the ability to have one or not.
Yeah.
These things happen throughout all cultures all the time. And it's that sort of thing where people are stuck. Now, it's one thing to be able to realize, yes, you're right, I've got a car.
Yeah.
I may have a flat tire, but I got a car.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have a car, well, I got a bike or whatever. You can find the blessings in your life, and you can spend your time looking and thinking about that until somebody dies, or or some other way to have a relationship.
But even dying is supposed to be part of life, anyways.
Sure, and breakups are part of life, and probably having some animal come and rob your cooler outside of your tent
is part of life.
Is part of life.
Yeah.
And the animal that breaks into your house and steals your jewelry, and those sorts of things. I mean, this kind of stuff happens. And how do you deal with it is the thing there. Do you want to look at it from a positive point of view or not? And really, I think that there's room to look at just about everything that happens in a positive sense. Not that you don't mourn the loss of your jewelry or your best friend or your lover or your parents when they die. No, of course you do. You need to have that in your scope of how you feel and allow yourself to feel those things, but not allow yourself to be overcome for much length of time.
Yeah.
Some things are worth being overcome for a little while.
I think it's harder to deal with death when it becomes young or if it was sudden.
Absolutely.
One day you just had dinner with the person and the next day they were dead or something like that. That's harder. When you're 90 years old or something like that, I look at it as the person had a great life. Yeah. 90 years, right?
And there's not much you want to say to somebody.
It's the human body's time. It's not them that are dying. It's just the body that they're in.
Absolutely.
Is giving up, right?
But even when someone you love dies young, it was someone you love.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You were blessed to have had that person in your life. There's no guarantees how long you have that.
Yeah.
So, at this point, there's no changing what just happened. It happened. You're going to always feel that. You're going to always feel that loss. It's going to be part of you forever. But you must, if you want to still live a full life, and you don't want to let that kill you too. Is what I'm trying to say. And some people get killed. Their life basically ends because of other people's lives ending or of other things that happen to them. And it doesn't have to be that way.
No.
It is, but it doesn't have to be. And whatever we can do to encourage each other, that's where I'm at. That's who I am. That's why I'm babbling on like this at this point a little bit.
I like doing good.
But a friend of mine just lost his cat. I've actually had a few people lose their cats recently. In both these cases that I'm thinking about now, long-lived cats. Although one only 9 years, but 9 years is still a long time.
That's a lot for a cat.
It's a long time.
I think it's 7
this cat's
for a dog.
20-some years old. That's all great and everything. You are really blessed, especially if it's a good cat and it's not a burden and you love the thing. So
I think you should go into owning pets knowing that one day that they're going to die before probably you do, right? So,
but you still love them.
yeah.
You're still hurt when they die.
Yeah.
You still don't want them to go.
Go get a new one and have more memories and new memories.
Of
Once
course,
again, right?
and that's what I'm saying.
They're
You've got to
little
find
babies,
ways to get
a
past
puppy,
it.
Then to get a baby, okay? Right? Babies, yeah, we can
Quicker
do the
you
whole
can
thing.
let it go, the better. That's all I'm saying. You got to let stuff go.
Yeah.
You know, you want to hang on to it long enough to be, reasonable and human and compassionate and all the rest of it. But for the most part, life is a series of letting a bunch of stuff go.
Shit, we gotta sell our.
We're gonna sell it.
Yeah.
Don't be trying to sell stuff on the show,
I know,
please.
I know. Hey, well, we just get rid of them.
Yeah, I
we
guess.
just boom, they're gone.
Is there a disclaimer of some sort that says that when you're coming
no,
on there?
it's they put up their whatchamacallit, their website. Go sell weed here or something. So
Yeah, we don't recommend you click on anything that we don't endorse. You never know what you're getting. There's viruses all over the place,
Yeah,
and who knows what viruses.
Well, you do your thing, and I'll go and take care of this.
You take care of that.
We'll see you next week. Oh, there you go. There we go. It's all gone.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, on that note, don't be going to any websites to click up on there that we don't endorse.
Yeah.
Because this is Pot TV.
Yeah.
And, there's been strange occurrences happen throughout our history of activism. I would imagine it's something to do with governments that want to try to stop us. And who knows? So it could easily be a virus. Don't go.
Yeah, or somebody just trying to take your money. Promise you a product, some cannabis, send your money here, and you don't get fucked.
That could be the least of your problems, but
always deal with somebody you can shake their hand and say thank you.
We will tell you if we want to. We will tell you about places we think it's okay to go to.
There are some gray market cannabis sites that are very honest people too. So
Not saying there aren't. Yeah,
yes, I do know some of them. So
we just don't want to have it associated with what we're doing here because we don't endorse it, we don't know, and
we don't
there
want to attract any attention to.
So we delete them apparently.
Yep, we do.
All right. Well, we're kind of getting there.
We'll see you next week.
In a weird show.
I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Cheers.
Well,
Wells.
that was Mr. Wells, Sir Wells.
There we go.
Definitely earned. Champions of the little people for sure, and that's kind of the thing, is that the problem that we found as activists in trying to address the unjust cannabis laws, I think the reason that many people become activists with respect to that is because this is serious, and when you get it, you get how serious it is. And one of the most serious things about it is this natural herbal medicine, which is a component and a supplement to our own internal endocannabinoid systems, is extremely crucial for some of us who have debilitating medical issues. And the seriousness of this prohibition that basically kicked myself and so many others into dedicating our lives to it, is that those people who are the ones that we would care about, you love your cousin Timmy, but he's good, man. The kid's got a job, he's moving along, it's all great. But your cousin Dolores over here, who was born with some sort of disability or has suffered some sort of a trauma in their life, has some disease or whatever. I mean, that gets a different degree of compassion going on. You're gonna do things to help her or that person way beyond what you would give Timmy, the other cousin, or who's doing well, right? You'll help the people that you love in your life that can pretty much mostly look after themselves, especially if they get into some sort of trouble where now they got some trauma happened, an accident, a disease, who knows, and they become on the other side of the ledger. You go and help them. So this whole prohibition of cannabis resulted in a whole lot of people with serious issues, not only not getting the help that they could have got from this plant had they been able to access it, but being persecuted and harmed in many ways because of the prohibition of this plant. Just in the simple matter of how much taxes we're all paying to cover the enormous bill that there is for the enforcement of these laws over this last 100 years here in Canada. So the sick people, the ones that are hurting, the ones that any caring human being would want to go to extra lengths to help, are being seriously harmed by this unjustified attempt by our public servants to protect us from the dangers of the plant by using the criminal law to punish anybody that would dare defy their edict that nobody should have anything to do with this plant. Meanwhile, the truth is that this plant is a very serious threat to the health of some corporations that are preying on people that have the governments in their pockets. And that's the solid truth about why the government doesn't care that it's harming people by restricting access to cannabis, because they're focused on the value they're getting out of restricting access that supports the interests of these corporations and other groups that want to profit off cannabis not being in the marketplace, and perhaps even from those people who want to profit because it's not in the marketplace because they're going to sell it to people through their networks of black market growing and selling. In any case, when the truth becomes evident to someone like myself, there's not much choice involved with respect to how I'm going to be spending my time in the next while. Dolores needs me. My family members need me. People are being harmed. People are dying. And people are getting rich because of it. And I'm going to do something about it if I can. So that's who I am, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm in the 5th year of this show. But that's mostly what I'm trying to lead to, is that's why I'm in the 7th year of the Cannabis Substitution Program. Because coming up on 7 years, it became really apparent that there was a serious health crisis going on, announced so by the government, of an overdose epidemic with people overdosing and dying on a poison supply of street drugs. In a world where access was limited to proper dose cannabis edibles, which I already had prior knowledge to, would help people get through withdrawal and get off those drugs. And I knew hundreds of people, literally hundreds of people, I'm sure, dozens and dozens of people, that would tell me that they'd been there, done that. Cannabis saved their lives, got them off those other drugs, gave them a different path. And so, armed with that information, being who I am as a human being, I had no choice but to say, hey, we need to make cannabis high or proper dose edibles available and as easily available as possible to aid with this crisis. And first I went to VANDU, the Vancouver Area Network of Drug Users, an organization funded by government here in Vancouver and run by peers to help those people oppressed by the drug laws and afflicted by addiction. Addiction is real because you can't stop if you want to without going through a real serious physical episode, if you will, 4 or 5 day long episode of withdrawal. But cannabis proper dose edibles allows that process to happen much easier than without. And there's not much else out there that'll do that the way that cannabis will do that for you. It is by far the best approach so far to getting through the 4 or 5 days of physical torture that is withdrawal. So, VANDU agreed and understood. They knew this all along anyway. I've been involved with that organization for quite a while as an activist, and they already understood, and so I presented it to them, and I, not surprisingly, got unanimous support from their board to move forward and to approach City Hall and to put together a program that they would assist me in of making it as easy as possible to get proper dose edibles to those people that would use them and could use them. So that happened, and then I went to City Hall and told them all about it and handed up a plastic bag with a half a dozen proper dose edibles in it, and I said, this is the real safe supply that we need to make available to people. You know, they were already talking about having a safe supply of needles and a safe supply of these hard drugs and other things. The real safe supply is cannabis. But City Council wanted none of it. Who knows why? Lots of conspiratorial speculation as to why they wouldn't support what I had put together to be a very good reason to do what it was we were going to do. They wouldn't listen to me. They didn't care. They wouldn't ask me questions. I called Peter Jang, the doctor. He hang up on me. I'm not rude. I wasn't aggressive. Just wanted to. He was, you know, we got alcohol in our society. How can we compare that to cannabis? Why can't we have cannabis proper dose edibles available, especially just in a click? So whatever. I tried to do it right from the start with this program. After 2 months of waiting while people were dying and having the city council lobbied by people other than me to try to get them to go along with what we were talking about, I had enough donations to start handing out, and I couldn't wait any longer, and I didn't. And I started handing them out at Vandu. And I got more donations over the course of a week, and I went back and handed out more. And it wasn't long before it was a thing. And I was going there every Saturday. And so for a year, every Saturday I would meet there. And right away there was long lineups of people. And right away there was people volunteering to help me. And we had a really good team going there. But the lineups were long and a bit out of control. And so we managed to convince Vandu to give us a second day on their premises to do this operation. And so 2 days a week. And that lasted for 2.5 years of being every Thursday and every Sunday with people lined up outside of Vandu on Hastings Street and all around the block waiting for hours to get 4 to 6 edibles and a couple of joints. City Council got on board about 2.5 years in, agreed that they should support low barrier access to cannabis based on what we were doing and what the High Hope Society was doing. High Hope Society was Sarah Bly, who started her little project in conjunction with the OPS, Overdose Prevention Society, where they were allowing people to come in, bring their own drugs, and shoot up on premise with supervision. Because when you're going to die of an overdose from these narcotics, there's an antidote. And if there's someone standing right there monitoring you, then they can provide the antidote and nobody dies at OPS. Wonderful service to provide to those people who might otherwise use alone or with someone who didn't know what to do or have the antidote. And so Sarah had found out that these cookies she was making for her boyfriend would work for helping these people not use those other drugs. And she heard about what I was doing, and she came and talked to me. And I gave her what she needed to get going on making some more of those cookies. And that started the High Hopes Society, and Sarah doing what she's doing. We buoyed with the City Council decision to support us. We got a storefront, as we had talked to Rebecca Bly, not related to Sarah Bly, the councillor, about getting. And into the storefront we went. But pretty quickly, city licensing said, no, you have to get a license from eventually Health Canada. And so we did. Apply for one. Should have been easy. We'd been doing it for 3.5 years. Everything well documented. Doctors, Professor Malloy, Professor Zachary Walsh, the foremost experts in the field, writing us letters of support, counselors from City Council, a video montage about 90 minutes long of many of the people and their compelling stories of how we were helping them. Science, All kinds of stuff went into that application, and that sat with Health Canada for almost 3 years. There was also the emergency application for a temporary exemption that also went ignored, other than they admitted that they had it the day after we sent it to the Health Minister and to Health Canada. Lots of delays and excuses, too intense to deny our application, and almost 3 years later, we get a final refusal a few weeks ago. So now we're dealing with that. There'll be a judicial review coming up. We'll be going to court against Health Canada in October in any case on a charter challenge. These are situations where your federal government has decided it's okay to spend a whole ton of your tax dollars to go to court to try to fight what we've been doing for now in our 7th year without ever there being a complaint from anyone, and with there being hundreds, if not thousands, of people who've stepped forward to commend us for what we're doing, to thank us for what we're doing. We have dozens and dozens of letters we've put together for our upcoming court cases, and they've got nothing. And yet here we are. So that's kind of in a nutshell what's going on. We were in the storefront, as I said, until the licensing department said you got to apply. Several months later, that application had not been approved, and we were forced out of the store and into an RV. So the CSP for the last, is it over 3 years? No, in November it'll be 3 years, has been operating as a store 7 days a week, 8 hours a day, fully staffed, and providing out the side window cannabis as an option for people in the neighborhood. We provide low cost and no cost cannabis, both of which are extremely important. Many people have no money, and they deserve to have access. So we provide it to them. We can give out a joint or an edible to anybody that needs it every single day. The amount that we're giving out is becoming staggering. 250 joints the other day, along with 167 edibles. Free. At least free to the people that get them. And the people are coming to get them every day. Word got out in the neighborhood. Go get your free joint or free edible from the weed wagon. That's okay. I think it's being abused a little bit, and we're going to try to make sure that the people that are getting it are people that really do need it and really can't afford it. I had one poor fellow sitting up against the concrete the other day, and he asked if he could bum $1. And I said, well, what would you do with the $1? He said, I'd go buy a joint. I said, well, we give a joint for free. He says, I already got one, but he said, I really need 2, sir. So I went and got him another joint. I'd like to be able to give out 2 or 3 joints a day to people who need them, who can't afford them, who will have their lives greatly benefited by doing that. We should be able to do that. But that's not cheap. What we're doing is not cheap. It needs to be subsidized. Right now we're subsidizing it with the sale of cannabis as well, even though we're keeping the prices down as low as we can, and they're much, much lower than any place else. Because access to cannabis, low barrier, is extremely important. And people purchasing cannabis and not getting it for free is also very important. Because there's a whole large demographic of people out there that are addicted to these drugs, that are looking for a way out, that want to get access to high dose or proper dose cannabis edibles. They can't do it through the government system. They don't have friends who can bake it for them. They need to have a place where they can discreetly come, purchase what they need, and walk away. They are not people who are going to say, hey man, I'm addicted to drugs and I'd like to have a free edible or a free joint today. Those people that are not going to identify themselves need to have easy, low barrier access. We fight for them. So that's getting pretty close to the end of the show. We're going to go outside just for a couple minutes and show you what's going on with this RV of ours and what we've been talking about all this time. And the weekly THC weather report in downtown Vancouver is sunny and beautiful, not too hot. and just about the way you like it. So other than the little bit of smoke that's in the air, it's lovely here.
We can see the blue sky today.
Yeah, lots of beautiful blue sky. A little quieter, it seems, than normal. We painted our storefront. How about that?
There you go. Nice.
It was completely covered in graffiti. We've now painted it. It's been over a week, and nobody's added a tag.
That's good.
So, yeah, pretty good with that.
Just put that on Facebook Live.
Yeah. So here's the RV. Such as it is, it's the third incarnation over just about 3 years. This one has now also suffered its slings and arrows. It's the neighborhood we're living in. We have a broken front windshield. Somebody was unhappy with us for something, and we don't know, and put a rock through the window. We had numerous break-ins here. We don't leave anything in the RV to steal, but people like to break in anyway and prove it to themselves. And they do that by making a big mess in there every time. And so after I just replaced the driver's side window, without a very long time period later, it's broken again. So this time I just put up a wooden thing there. It's been broken through 3 or 4 times, but each time I reinforce it a little more than the time before. And so far so good, touch wood. That,
the wood's over there.
Haven't had that. This morning at about 4 o'clock in the morning, I looked at my security camera and saw that the side window was open. It's not very big there, but there's a chance that some really small person, and it has happened before, can crawl in through that window. So I came out here actually in my house coat and slippers to have a look, and stuck my head in there. Nobody was in there. It didn't look like any mess had been made, so I closed the window. And I thought when I came out, I said, nobody's going to see me,
Yeah.
But at that moment, this guy rides by on a scooter, and he says, hey. And he says, you work there? I said, yes, sir, I do. And he says, oh, good. He says, all right, because if you didn't, And then he said he'd been trying all night to find some weed to smoke.
Yeah.
So
you gave him
I helped him out with some weed. And he said, I kind of figured when you're in your house coat and slippers that, you weren't breaking in.
Yeah, I guess.
He said, but, had you been anything else but that, he said, I probably would have jumped on you because, the people in the neighborhood do want to protect the RV. The few times it's been broken into recently, they've been chased away.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on. But, there's hundreds of people here. They're desperate people in many cases. We have new people coming in every day. They've lost their housing. They're desperate. They're not sure how to survive, and so an RV like this is a target, in this neighborhood. And there's break-ins all up and down the street all the time. It's been going on for as long as I've been here. What can you do but continue on, as far as I'm concerned, anyway. So we have the sign on the door window. It says there's nothing to steal here.
Yep. But they still try. They still look.
They don't believe you.
Yeah.
We have these signs for people that drive by because we want people to know how we feel about these things and what this is all about. We got cars coming up. I think we should come in here.
Go now? All right. Look at that blue sky. Nice.
Lovely. Hello, everyone.
You really,
How are things in the weed balance?
Never better.
Never better. Isn't that nice? Continuing to improve as we go day by day. Isn't that nice? Dexter and Kevin,
Dexter.
soldiers in this war against the evil, prohibitionists and their attempts to try to eliminate people from having proper access to cannabis. It's really absolutely insane and makes zero sense just about any way you approach it, unless you look at it from an economics point of view, in which case it makes all kinds of money for a bunch of very rich, evil, greedy people that decided somewhere back about 120 some years ago to try to prevent people from having access to cannabis. It had a lot to do with the Rockefellers and their interests with the Bayer Pharmaceutical Company and coming up with the age of modern medicine and having synthetics and pills that were derived in mimic as best as possible to what the plants and the herbs had provided us medically for millions of years prior to that. And so they're a lot responsible for this whole campaign that's been going on for well over 100 years of public servants being owned and operated by these corporate rich, evil people that for their own self-interests want to keep cannabis out of the marketplace. And this is the fight that we're in. This is the most important fight that there is, in my opinion. It hinges on so many aspects of our society with respect to access to medicine, with respect to freedom, with respect to what the role of government is supposed to be. There's an awful lot going on here with this attempt to prohibit cannabis for the last 100 years plus in Canada. And if you're not on board, you should be. It is the best fight to fight and the best way to fight the good fight, and the good fight still needs to be fought. We have not won our freedom yet. The work that was done over the last century or so by our forefathers and far beyond that in trying to gain respect as human beings from those people who have the power and the leverage to oppress us, this fight continues, and it's still the good fight. And we need everybody. There's no room for passengers and sightseers. We all need to be crew here. We're all on a mission. The mission is not about us. It's about humanity in general. It's about the generations to come, where we're going to be as a species in the next 100 and 150 years. What are we leaving our children? Are we leaving them a world where they have freedom to be what they need to be and live their lives in peace and with respect? Or are we leaving them a world that's going to be controlled like dictators and tyrants and corporate monsters with so much money and so much power, and with the technology available now, so much ability to control? Are we going to leave our world to them? I don't want to do that. I have a responsibility to the future in my mind. That's what gives me life and enjoyment and the fuel to live my life in the present, is knowing that I'm going to leave the world a better place than I found it, and that I've contributed here, and that I was needed here. You're all needed. Everybody is needed. Everybody can do something. I can't do everything. There's so much to do. Nobody can do everything. Don't try. But do something. Do something. A little bit. I know you've got a family in many cases, or lots of other things going on. There's a way to fit in something. The way you talk to your family and your friends. There are things to do. I'm not going to start naming them. Letters, phone calls, the regular stuff, and a whole bunch of non-regular stuff. Start a rally. Put a sign outside of your house. Walk up and down the street talking to people. I don't know. Phone open line radio shows. There's a bunch of things to do. Everybody's got a different idea what they can do. It's fun. It's exciting. It makes you part of the game. And the game is freedom. The game is serious. The game is about us and our children. Play the game. Be a player. Do something. Get some juice. Get some fuel. Have a stake in what's going on here as we watch how things unfold. Does AI take over on behalf of the corporations and we are all nothing but slaves and fodder for them? Or do we have a future where technology works for us, and those that would oppress us and monopolize us and exploit us are held at bay by laws and public servants who actually do their job of protecting us and our individual rights and sovereignty? Be part of the team. I'd love to have you join us. In any case, thanks so much for watching and sharing and all the stuff that's going on to get this show, into other people's minds. I think we do some good work here. Today we were a little silly talking about all kinds of some other stuff mostly, but the theme is freedom. The theme is easy, low barrier access to the cannabis plant and all that that can do for our society, and what the attempt to prohibit it is costing us. That's our theme. That's pretty much what we talk about. That's why I had problems at the border. All about prohibition. All about this unethical, unjustified war against us as human beings getting access to nature in ways that we would like. Anyway, it's been a longer show than normal. Sometimes I think I have more to say. I don't know. I hope you're doing a good job in your lives. I hope you're looking after yourselves and being independent. I hope that you're kind to people, especially those people that are hardest to be kind to, because they need it the most. And it's whatever you put out there, you're going to get back. It's an echo chamber that we live in. You be kind to somebody else, you're being kind to yourself. You hurt somebody else, you just hurt yourself. We're all one. And life is serious. It's way too serious to take too serious. So just enjoy it. And most of all, as I always say, it really is true. Just have as much fun as you can trying to change the world. See you next week.